Hi everyone, Tia here. I feel like I have not done one of these videos in quite a while because things have been very interesting. But I am a married woman, so yeah, welcome back to the Pride Pack. Yes, so it has been a little bit of time since I have uploaded a video, and that is just because things have been just a little bit crazy, a little bit wild, um, leading up to or with the all of the things going on in the world right now, as well as my personal life. So the main part of that being the wedding. So that was taking up a lot of my time with kind of the last minuteness with all of the changes, I guess you could say. Um, so yeah, today I'm coming at you with a wedding update video, and the main thing that I wanted to talk about during this video is having your wedding during the pandemic. So I know that a lot of you may be dealing with the same sort of situation that we dealt with, whether that be you were already supposed to have your wedding and had to postpone it to a later date now, or your wedding is coming up soon and you haven't done any postponement yet. So whether you are in that first or the second category, I feel like you're gonna mostly be dealing with some of the same issues. So I'm just gonna talk about our experience. So as many of you may know, we were supposed to get married April 4th, 2020. So it was about 3 weeks before the wedding, I would say, when the major shutdown happened. And at first we were like, does that mean that we have to postpone? Because, things were so uncertain when this first happened in March. It was, at first it was, it's only going to be for 2 weeks. Like, this is going to pass quickly, or, it was as long as you have gatherings of under 250 people, you're fine. So when the decision was finally made for us, we were kind of already like, yeah, we're just gonna postpone it. And then actually the venues all got shut down and the casinos got shut down at that right at that point. So when that happened and it was official that we would have to move our wedding unless we wanted to have like some backyard desert wedding or something like that, when we made the switch. So we ended up postponing our wedding to July 18th. So we were just married a couple of weeks ago now. And yeah, so postponing the date was one interesting sort of like problem, because we postponed to July thinking that this would all be over with from the information that we had at the time, which was definitely not accurate. So if you are still thinking about when to postpone your wedding for, you really might just want to try to play it safe and push to 2021 or 2022 if you do not want to have to deal with some of these regulations that I'm going to be talking about. And you can choose either, it's totally up to you and your partner what you want to do and what you're comfortable with. We just wanted to be married, and we ended up having a beautiful wedding even with all of the restrictions and guidelines. So it's definitely still possible to have something enjoyable. So don't get discouraged if you are going to have your wedding during the pandemic. So some of the main things that ended up being changed, and why it became hectic, was that we weren't told about some of these changes until the week of the wedding. So one change, so everyone knows about masks, right? Masks are pretty regulated throughout the entire country, that most of us should be wearing masks. So We knew that going into it. We were prepared. Our guests wanted to wear masks anyway because we typically try to be on the safe side. But my only thing was I did not want the bridal party to have to wear a mask while they walked down the aisle. And unfortunately, the venue let us know that if the whole bridal party was going to stand up with us at the ceremony, that everyone would have to wear masks. So that was not something that we wanted to happen. So what we instead did was we had the bridal party walk out one by one, spaced over 6 feet apart, a good like 10 or 15 feet apart. We had them walk out one by one without their masks on so that we could get photos of them walking down the aisle. And then once they walked all the way down the aisle, we went ahead and had them just take a seat and then put their mask on then. So we at least got the picture and the video of all of our friends and family walking down the aisle without the mask so we could see their faces. And then they sat down and put the mask on to abide by the regulations. And the only people who we had stand up there were me and my fiance and the officiant. So it was just us three, so we did not have to wear the mask. So there's a tip for you guys if your venue is kind of requiring the same thing. And I think it still ended up turning out beautiful anyway. The next regulation would be the like distancing. So one way that we ended up doing this, which turned out okay. The problem was we weren't aware of this guideline until the week of the wedding. So with the 6 feet apart distancing, the venue decided that for the ceremony, they would space the chairs 6 feet apart in pairs of twos. So there'd be like 2 seats and then they would space it 6 feet apart and then another 2 seats. Again, that didn't really end up affecting us too much because the guests, you know, we made do and there was still enough chairs. It did make it so that the area was like a little bit more crowded because of the spacing, but it still worked out perfectly fine. Where it got interesting was during the reception. So originally the venue normally sat 12 people to a table, and that was like their regulation, not ours, was that they sat 12 people to a table. So during my entire preparation, I planned for people to sit 12 people to a table, and there were only going to be 5 tables, or like 5 or 6 tables based on our guest count, because we had like 60 something people. So there were only going to be 5 or 6 tables, right? And then the week of the wedding on like Monday, I send in my seating chart to the venue. They didn't request it, but I try to be very like organized, and you know, they were gonna help, so I wanted them to know like as early as possible how to help set up the tables. So I sent them a seating chart, and at that point the venue let me know, oh no, we can't sit 12 people to a table anymore because of the social distancing requirements. We can only sit 4 to 5 people to a table. Ooh, like, guys, I know. So I am not a bridezilla in any circumstance. Like I'm super chill on a lot of things, you know, like when they're like, oh, how you want your hair, your makeup? I'm like, just make me look good. Make me look good and we'll be fine, right? But you can't come. I'm also organized and detail oriented, and I'm a wedding an event planner. So I have my stuff down packed for how it's supposed to look so it can look good. And to come tell me that we're gonna have to sit 4 to 5 people to a table the week of the wedding, I'm like, I don't have enough centerpieces for this many tables now. So instead of 5 tables, we ended up with 12 tables plus a sweetheart table. So what I ended up doing is I made some rush changes to my centerpieces. I still ended up doing 5 large centerpieces. I will insert some pictures here of what I was going to be doing. Excuse the watermark because I don't have the photos without the watermark yet, because the wedding just happened and we're still in our like delay period. But we had these tall centerpieces with big florals, which were the original 5 centerpieces. And then I ended up just going to like grocery stores and getting some roses and then using some of the extra flowers that I had from my original main flower order that I did the big centerpieces from, and I created these small secondary centerpieces to go on the other 7 tables. And so with those, I filled up the vases with water beads. The beads were supposed to go all the way up to the top, but they did not fill up the vases with enough water for the beads. So yeah, so that wasn't how I wanted it to look, but it still ended up looking beautiful. Yeah, we filled those vases with the beads, and we just sat the smaller, like little floral arrangements that I created into the vase itself. I did create all of the floral arrangements myself. You can check out some of my other flower videos. I'll link it in one of these corners and in the description for you, where I created some other centerpieces. I used the same technique in these centerpieces, but I was also following a technique from an amazing florist that I watch. I am not a florist whatsoever. I DIY a lot of things, so that's how I created my centerpieces, but I'll link her video down below too, so you can see what I was using as my inspiration. But basically in the small centerpieces, I used only like 6 or 7 flowers, and then in the big centerpieces, I used the majority of the flowers. I think I used like 8 hydrangeas and 12 roses or something like that. I will find the exact quantities and I will put them across the screen for you here or something like that, so you know how I created these centerpieces. So yeah, so that ended up being what I did to fix the table debacle. I ended up rushing and doing a new seating chart because I already had printed out and created the seating chart, because I created all of my own graphics and stuff for the wedding too, like our wedding sign and our table arrangement, all that stuff I created myself. So I ended up having to create another one of those and having that reprinted. But it all ended up working out fine, and it looks beautiful, and I know it was better for our guests, like safety wise, for anyone who, you know, might have felt uncomfortable because of the current situation. So just roll with the punches, and if you're not, like, you know, good with design stuff, maybe have somebody help you if needed, because luckily I know how to sort of like deal with these things. So if you don't, just reach out to some help to help you deal with these things. Besides that, there really weren't that many other changes. We were allowed, or guests were allowed to take their masks off during dinner, obviously, while they were sitting down and eating. And then once they would like get up to go to the bathroom or even on the dance floor, to like bring their masks with them, and most of the guests are sort of abiding by that. But also luckily our venue was completely private because they shut down the restaurant for the event, so no one else was there besides our immediate friends and family, who most of us like live with each other anyway. So it really wasn't a big concern among the people who were at the wedding. But we did, you know, wear masks a good portion of the night, the majority of the night, when we were like interacting with each other. We did, during like family portraits, people would wear their mask, and then when they would get over, or when it was time for the picture, they would just take them off really quick so we could take a picture, and then they'd put the mask back on and things like that. Besides that, there weren't really any other changes. We did have a dessert table, but the venue served the majority of our desserts. And then we did have like little tongs and stuff for people to pick up their own desserts. Oh, and I guess I should mention the only other COVID restriction that I had, I don't know if we said this, but we were limited to 50 people inside of the venue. Our original guest count was more around 68 or something like that, almost 70 people, and we ended up with 48 people because we were limited to 50 people. Luckily, we didn't really have to tell anybody that they couldn't come, because we ended up having enough people who like couldn't or weren't comfortable coming in from out of town, or who just couldn't make the new postponed date anymore, so that it ended up working out fine. And besides that, there really weren't any problems or any changes. So we ended up having a beautiful wedding. I will be releasing that video once we receive it. We haven't received our wedding video yet, but once we do, I'm gonna edit it to be a shorter version, but I'll be releasing a wedding video from the wedding for you guys to enjoy and see what everything looked like. But until then, I hope you enjoyed some of these photos that I inserted into this video to kind of see how everything went. And let me know if you guys have any questions. I really had hoped to film more of the wedding process leading up to the wedding, but like I said, things were getting so hectic with like these changes that it just was like too much, especially trying to change the centerpieces and the seating chart and everything as it went along, and just dealing with, you know, guests like, we can't come anymore, now we can you help with this? So that all of that stuff leading up to it was just a bit much, and I just didn't have the time to film. And also I meant to film when I was creating the centerpieces, but things just became really hectic, especially because all of my flowers were delivered late. So it only left me with one day to complete all of the centerpieces, the bouquets and boutonnieres that I created, which I don't regret DIYing that because I saved a lot of money. But yeah, it just made things a little bit crazy and hectic. But I will try to post some other videos about the wedding if you would like me to do any like breakdowns of how I did things or what I did. Maybe I'll do like a budgeting video. Let me know if you guys want to hear about how like much we ended up spending on the wedding, because we did have a very inexpensive wedding. I don't even know the total. I'll have to look at or calculate everything, but it was much less expensive than a typical like big wedding package. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I am glad to be back on YouTube. I know I did gain some subscribers during my absence, so for you guys who have subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for watching this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to share the video with anyone who might be going through the same sort of situation. And I hope it's helpful for some of you guys who are in this boat. But I also hope that it helps you like have some peace of mind to see that it is still possible to have a very beautiful wedding and be happy with your wedding even during these times. So don't get discouraged. As long as you and your partner are happy and in love, then that's really all that matters. So thank you guys so much and have a great day. And if you would like to receive notifications for whenever I post a video, please do not forget to hit that bell icon.